today's episode, I'm going to be teaching you guys the meaning. Wagwan JBABIES, it's the one and only Jbabe, back again with another video, and I welcome you to the second episode of Queer Education with Jbabe, where I get to explain terms, notions, ideas surrounding the LGBTQ community that you guys chose for me to explain because you have a hard time understanding, or you would just need a little clarification on those terms, notions, and ideas. In today's video, I'm going to be explaining the term androgyny. What is androgyny? Androgyny is a combination of both male and female characteristics into an ambiguous form. That's the basic definition of what androgyny is. So to simplify it, it just means anything that seems to have both male and female characteristics in one is considered androgynous. Where can androgyny be found? Biological sex, gender identity, and gender expression. So let me break that down. Androgyny with regards to biological sex refers to intersex people who are born with biological features belonging to both the male and the female sex. So what that means is a person born with chromosomes, gonads, genitals that belong to both the female and male sex is considered androgynous. You can find people born with chromosomes belonging to both the male and female sex, or people with genitals belonging to both the male and female sex. Those people are considered androgynous. With regards to gender identity, people falling under the androgynous umbrella usually identify as non-binary, gender fluid, or gender queer. What that means is, like I said, the basic definition for androgyny is when both male and female characteristics are combined into an ambiguous form. An ambiguous form is a form that you cannot clearly define. So people that are non-binary, gender fluid, or gender queer, it just means that they don't, on the spectrum of what is male and female, they don't identify with either male or female. Non-binary people consider themselves to fit into a strict middle between male and female, while gender fluid people, for example, tend to shift from one end of the spectrum to another. So that's really just what it means. It means when somebody doesn't identify with either male or female, which are gender norms that have been imposed on us by society. This brings me to the question of androgyny with regards to gender expression. Going back to the main definition, it is a combination of both female and male characteristics into an ambiguous form. So gender expression has to do with personal grooming, choice of clothing. So there are androgynous types of clothes that are not strictly male or female. When you see certain fashion brands putting forward gender-neutral clothing items, those clothing items are considered as androgynous. However, there's something that we need to understand is that you cannot mix gender expression and gender identity. Gender identity is something that you feel and therefore decide to attribute a label to. Gender expression is something you completely choose. It's something that you make a decision to put yourself forward in a certain way. People that identify a certain way don't necessarily have to express themselves in a way that they identify just because society tells them it's that way. I feel like something that we forget is that LGBTQ plus people already being marginalized are not trying to conform to rules that we're creating, even as we're trying to accept and acknowledge the existence of these people. What I mean is, for example, someone that identifies as non-binary or gender fluid, you would expect them to dress strictly androgynous, in an androgynous way, but that doesn't have to be the case. Someone that identifies as non-binary, their identity is still valid even if they express themselves in the way women do or men do. Do you understand? If they express themselves in a way that is a strict end of the spectrum, it doesn't take away the fact that their identity is very much valid. So if someone tells you, for example, I am non-binary, I'm gender fluid, you don't have the right to ask them, oh, then why do you dress like a woman? If someone identifies as something, it's left to you to take that information and use it accordingly and not try to question it. So I have come to the end of the explanation of what androgyny means. I just want to remind you guys that this series is not for you to accept. The LGBTQI plus community is not here for you to accept them. They're here to teach you about who they are because they have been put to the side for so long. It's not up to you to accept or validate someone's experience as a human being. It's left for you to understand how you can make life easier for them, just as they have been doing so for you for centuries. It's about understanding. It's about being introduced to new terms, concepts, ideas that you weren't necessarily brought up with. But we're in the 21st century. We're in a century where people are taking the opportunity to express themselves and express their identities and who they are, and they're taking it by force. So it's either you keep up with what's happening in today's world, or you're left behind. And this is I've seen a lot of debates on people calling this a colonialist way of doing things, about how the Western world is imposing all these things on us. I'll do an entire other video on how Africans for the longest times have been queer. Our ancestors were queer and they were here and they did that. So before you consider all these things as colonialist or influence of the Western world, I want you guys to really understand what it means to be queer, what it means to be an individual struggling in today's world because they're not being accepted or being tolerated or being treated as normal human beings. And I want you to really think about whether that is a choice, about whether people choose to put their lives on the line daily, all in the name of this colonialism you speak about. I hope I've been able to enlighten you guys and teach you a little bit more. Thank you for watching this video till the end, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Honestly, that was freaking great. That was smooth.